morning, church family. I'm David Russo, and I'm bringing our daily hope to us today out of Jeremiah 17, verses 5 through 8. As has already been said in our series, Jeremiah is a very heavy, very tragic book. Jeremiah was a prophet who spoke to the people of Israel for 40 years with virtually no reception from his own people. He lived the preacher's worst nightmare, to be speaking from his heart, to be sharing what he had received from God. He gave his message to the people and nothing seemed to come about from it. But he was faithful. He continued to speak what he knew God wanted him to speak, even when it was not only unpopular, but it was receiving pushback. He was persecuted for it. He would walk onto a scene and people's eyes would roll, tempers would flare. Just a lone wolf in this context of Israel at the time. And for that reason, he's just one of my absolute heroes in the Bible, because he was faithful to continue to speak what he knew he had to say, even when it was the exact opposite of what people wanted to hear. Let's get into the verses today. So this is him speaking now to Israel, verses 5 through 8 in 17. He says, "Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart departs from the Lord. For he shall be like a shrub in the desert, and shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land which is not inhabited. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, and whose hope is the Lord. For he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and will not fear when heat comes. But its leaf will be green, and it will not be anxious in the year of drought, nor will cease from yielding fruit." I think Jeremiah just nails the human condition right there. To be separate from God is to feel like a shrub in a dry, salty desert. What a picture. I've driven down the 5 freeway before, and you've seen tumbleweeds just like pushed up against the side of the median in the freeway. And they look really weird in California. I mean, tumbleweeds don't feel fitting in California, but I've seen some pretty giant tumbleweeds up against the side of the freeway there, like a 5x5, just massive thing. And it's the ultimate picture of a lifeless life. I think a tumbleweed is just such a great picture of a life that has no nourishment inside of itself. There's nothing green on it. It's hollow, it's spiky, it's rigid, it's tossed around by the wind, so it's aimless, it has no direction, and it has no use for anything. A tree, in comparison, the tree that Jeremiah gives us an image of is one that's rooted. It's one that's root system is going deep into the places where life can be found. And this image Jeremiah is giving us is one who has put their trust, they put the hope of their heart into God himself. They find their rest in God. They believe that God himself is where life can be found. And this is the same truth today as it's always been, that there really is no abundant, good, nourished life apart from God. To be separate from God is to be in a state of wandering, confusion, hollowness, dryness. And Jeremiah is faithful to speak this word. It's not a popular word. It's still not a very popular word today. But it is a truth. It is true that life can only be found in God himself. And Jeremiah didn't get to see the fruit of his labor. He didn't get to see the fruit of his labor. But Jeremiah was one voice in a string of voices that helped to set a foundation for the ultimate hope to be revealed into the world, which is the person of Jesus Christ. So Jeremiah laid this long, painful foundation of saying that life can only be found in God. The only place where life is inside of relationship with God himself. And he spoke this to an audience that did not receive him at all. It's the preacher's worst nightmare. is to have a message you know so deeply to be true, and you speak it, and the audience just does not hear it. They not only don't hear it, but they completely reject you. You're an outcast. You're pushed aside. But Jeremiah was faithful to speak that word because he was that tree. He was rooted in God. He knew that he didn't have to be anxious about the people's reception of him, because true life is found in God. And friends, today that same truth holds up, that life is found in God. It's found in the person of Jesus Christ, in relationship with him. He is the one that gives green and fruit to our life. He's the one that causes us to have a life, full life, not a lifeless life, but a life full of life, overflowing with life. And let's continue to be faithful to that truth, because it's the same timeless truth that life is found in God alone. Bless you today, church.